shrink was the buzzword for retailers last year, but in the reporting for this recent quarter, we barely heard about shrink at all. And if we did, it was along the lines of Target's Brian Cornell touting the major improvements the company has made to shrink. So what have retailers and law enforcement done to combat shrink, and has it really worked? Or was the size of the problem never as bad as it was really made out to be? Joining us now is Brand Elverston of Elverston Consulting. Prior to that, he was the director of Walmart's Asset Protection Division, fighting shrink. And here on set with us is CNBC retail reporter Gabrielle Fonrouge. Thank you both for being here with us. And maybe I'm going to start with you, Gabby, about this overall picture about just how big of a deal shrink was or wasn't.
So last year, shrink was a big issue if you're looking at the transcripts of the earnings calls. But how much of an actual issue was it having on profits is debatable. I did a story last year that calculated just how much retailers were losing from shrink. Lowe's was a big one. They lost about $1 billion. But that was only about 1% of their overall sales, and that's actually a healthy place for shrinks to be. So part of what brought all of this on was as the demand situation kind of softened, there was way more focus on profits than ever before. So retailers were more inclined to provide a variety of reasons for why profits were soft. Shrink was one of them. That doesn't mean that shrink wasn't a total issue, but just how material it was compared to how much they were losing from discounting, from the inventory troubles that they had. It's a little bit unclear. All
right, Brand, let's pull back the curtain from somebody who's seen it all before, from the biggest retailer out there in Walmart. Shrink, was it a big issue or not as big of an issue?
It was a huge issue. So, a lot of those contributors came during the pandemic, but in my 30 plus years in the industry, the levels of shrink, and Gabby, you referenced a 1%. While that sounds minuscule, that means, that you're only losing 1% of your inventory if you're at the volume of Walmart or some of the major tier ones. That's a staggering amount of money, and it does negatively impact earnings per share, et cetera. So it wasn't overstated. The component, Gabby, that was overstated or is overstated is what part of that is attributed to theft versus supply chain hiccups, administrative, other things that are non-malicious intent. So the distortion really is around ORC, that in some media outlets was fanned with the smash and grab videos and all the things that we saw. And the mischaracterization is, as it was stated about a year ago, half of that $112 billion that was lost in U.S. retailers in 2021 was attributed to ORC. So it's an overgeneralization, but it absolutely is a problem and is a direct impact on a P&L.
Brand, you can't help, you can't blame viewers and even us for talking about these types of things in that context. Sure. Because what we have seen, Brand, we've seen a notable number of store closures, whether they be underperforming or whatnot, but many of those are in locations that have become associated with things like retail theft. So how do you reconcile that particular kind of closure aspect of these things to what the narrative is that you're trying to tell us right now about what is and what isn't the responsibility of the retailer itself?
A lot of the ambiguity in shrink. So when you look at the other metrics in retail, sales, profitability, earnings per share, those are quantitative numbers that you understand and you can see and you can back into the hard math. Shrink is not like that. So the number that you get at the end of a cyclical inventory is simply oversimplification, but a reconciliation of what the ledger says you should have financially, and you count your inventory, and that's what you have. And if there's a delta, it's shrink. And it gets really muddy after that. In other words, how much is theft? How much is administrative? Did we ever receive the merchandise in the first place? Were there billing errors? So the store closures, and I'll use Doug McMillan. When Doug, a few quarters ago, was asked about the theft problem, said, sure, it's a little bit worse than we wanted it to be, but it's in perspective of 4,700 stores. And if Doug is making the decision, or Walmart, to close X number of stores because they're not profitable, sure, shrink is a component of that, but there are many other things behind the curtain operationally that make that box unprofitable. And that, while it was caught up in the frenzy of shrink and theft, is the reason why. As we all know, retailers, adjust, close, open stores, certainly in my experience before, because they're simply not profitable boxes for various reasons. But the headline that was monopolizing was shrink.